cool black guys don't say like, yeah. They say like, what's up? Sup. Like S-U-P. S-U-P is what I get from cool black dudes.
Are you implying Little John is not a cool black guy?
But yeah, he screams, yeah.
What?
Oh.
Yeah. What's happening, guys? Welcome to another episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Chael, he's Daniel, and moments ago, before we turned the cameras on, Daniel was in the middle of telling me a story. He said, wait, I'm going to save it for the show. Partner, I can't wait anymore.
Okay.
Wait, how does this story go?
Okay, so Brian, he was like the cameraman, starts doing jiu-jitsu. He told me today he's a guest instructor at a seminar. So, okay, Brian, you're teaching. First off, that's massive. But it also kind of reminded me this, right? So, a dude throws on a gi, you're learning from him. When I was growing up, there was a guy named Buki. Seriously, that's the name. B-O-K-E-E. In the ghetto, nobody wears a gi. In the ghetto, all we know about mixed martial arts is what we saw with Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. Yep. And what did Chuck Norris wear? A gi. Buki would throw that gi on, Chael, and he would pretend karate in front of the car wash. I would have learned from him, Chael. Everybody was afraid of him. He was a guy that spent some time in prison. When he got out, he would be, and he would do all this weird stuff, kick into the air, and everybody was afraid of him, Chael. We thought his hands and kicks were deadly weapons.
They might have been. I mean, how do you know it's fake karate, by the way? I'm into Buki. I'm into the whole gimmick. That happens to me in real life. I go into a doctor's office, somewhere a dude's wearing a white coat, and he's got that thing. That's a doctor.
That's a doctor.
I wouldn't question it.
All you gotta do is play the part in my mind, and I'm like, yo, this dude is dangerous. He would stand there, man. He'd be doing kicking and everything. He is a Lafayette legend for his karate.
I love it.
We're growing up.
And now he's an ESPN legend. Hey, Daniel, by the way, I was a fake black belt at one point.
Wait, what?
I went to one day of jiu-jitsu in my life. It was with Mark Schultz. And Mark Schultz told me, you are whatever belt you're tough enough to compete at. I became a black belt, just like that. I took that little story back to Eugene, Oregon when I transferred, went into a gym, and signed up as a black belt. And these two purple belts wore me out for about 20 minutes. And I realized that's not true. There's actually some moves and techniques to this. Yes, Ryan and Harold, I'll never forget that. And they never teased me for it. They always let it slide, and I appreciated that.
Chill. You can't just listen to Mark Schultz, man. You know Mark. You can't just listen to Mark, man. I'll run across Mark every now and again, and you cannot just listen to Mark Schultz. Chill. Last weekend, Mark Schultz is a legend, by the way, and just one guy that did so much in wrestling that Chill and I appreciate him. But another guy we appreciate that is a legend. He's the knockout king, is Derrick Lewis. We'll get to what he did last weekend in a little bit, but Chill, is fight week. It's UFC 318 fight week. It goes down in New Orleans on the Bayou. It's the farewell of Dustin Poirier. But he's not the only part of the story. We'll be live in Louisiana on Thursday, so we're going to spend the whole show on Dustin. Today, let's talk about the Blessed Express, Chael. Yeah. Max Holloway, right? He has become a bit of a side character because Dustin's retirement has become the main focus of the fight. But Max Holloway is nobody's side character. Max Holloway is the BMF champion, and Max Holloway still has plans to not only defend his BMF belt and beat Dustin Poirier and send him off on the loss, but this dude still has championship aspirations. What do you make of Max Holloway going into this fight this weekend?
Well, okay, you talk about a side character, and I see it the same way, but excuse me, that side character is the one bringing the belt that we're fighting for. I mean, Max Holloway, this guy's a legend. Look, I don't have to go back any further than 2 weeks ago to tell you, when Ilia Topuria moved up from 145, he was met with some resistance. There was some question, will he be big enough? Will he be powerful enough? Here we are, 2 weeks removed from that. Nobody's asking that about Max. Now, the reason for that is Max already been to 155. We know he's got the power. We saw what he did, for example, with Justin Gaethje. But just to remind you, that was a title fight. Then to remind you, in Max's very next fight, it was a different title at a different weight class. And now to remind you, he's going into his third title fight. That deserves something. And Daniel, there's a very unique situation. The odds makers right this second have it minus 105 to plus 125. Now, Ian Parker would not call that even money, but I do. For loose language, that's even money. And to see a trilogy fight where they did not split the first two, not to mention, there is something that's very true in boxing and somewhat true in MMA. But your first fight back from a knockout isn't generally this great thing. Max has never been knocked down. He was knocked down and knocked out. And none of these things are being brought into question. There's a lot of people that believe he's going to go out and to win this fight. I think that's very respectful. But if I'm to be fair, it surprised me.
Who's the favorite? Who's the favorite at
Dustin. Dustin is officially the favorite, but barely.
Barely. Okay. Let me kind of think about what you said. So you said Max is the underdog. It doesn't generally go well when you've gotten knocked out. Yes, that's absolutely true. But it's been some time. Max has done the right thing. You remember when Volk got knocked out? He rushed back. Volk got knocked out in October, fought in January or February. Max has said, let me wait. It's all the way to July. So you give yourself a little bit of time to recover, let the chin refresh and everything. And you're right. He'd never been knocked out. With that being said, Dustin Poirier is up 2. So he is rightfully the favorite. But I think the reason it's so close is because of what we saw when Max was at 155 the last time, especially 155 healthy. The first time we saw him fight Dustin for the interim title, he just got big. You remember when he was going to be brought in to fight Khabib in Brooklyn, he couldn't really make the weight because he was so big for 155, even though he was a 145-pounder. But when we saw him against Justin Gaethje, he was in shape, he looked lean, he looked strong, and then he fought a wonderful fight. So I get why the line is as close as the line is. And if you respect fighting, you should respect Max Holloway and his ability, because what Ilya did isn't abnormal because it's Max Holloway. He's done it to everyone. So at this point, Ilya's just knocking guys out. So him knocking Max Holloway out is just kind of par for the course, or at least it seems that way. One thing it hasn't done, though, it hasn't deterred Max. Max is talking a lot about Ilya this week, Chael. Do you like that, or do you kind of find it as either sour grapes or get through what you got to get through right now? You have a history with the champ. Maybe that gives you an opportunity.
That is generally the rule. I will just tell you, there is another side of that coin, and I actually subscribe to it. The worst thing that I could do in my career, Daniel, was to focus on one guy. By example, if I was to go back and reminisce, my best round was the semifinal round. You did not want to run into me in the semifinal round. But one thing that would happen in the finals is I was focused on one guy, and I'm only sharing with you, I believe Max, with his experience, is wise enough to put himself in the best position possible. So I believe that Max must look at Dustin. He must look at this and realize, I don't need to speculate. I don't need to guess. Yeah. And nothing good comes from talking about the past. I can talk about the fight where I lost all 5 rounds. I can talk about the fight where I exposed my neck. Like there's no point in talking about Dustin. I'd rather distract myself with something else. And sometimes a real key is to distract yourself with something more difficult, to kind of prepare yourself for something more difficult so that what you have to do, as trying as it is, can feel like a lesser task.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying to get the lightweight rankings right here from Jake and them, but when I look at this fight, there is so much that goes into it. But here's another level for you, Chael. Max Holloway, if he does not get through this one, right, because we'll get to what it means to Max, what it means to Dustin on Thursday. If Max doesn't get through this one, in trilogies, 2 of them, he'd be 0-6. I don't know that we've ever seen a trilogy, one where it's 0-3. Generally, we don't get to that third fight if a guy's won twice. And if Dustin doesn't win this one, he would be 0-6 between Volkanovski and Dustin Poirier. So what does it mean to Max Holloway to get this victory? It has to be much more than just winning a fight. Not only because he, like I said, he has championship aspirations. He doesn't want to go 0-6 in 2 trilogies, but also because he's fighting a guy that's retiring. There's something to being the guy that's sticking around, Chael. That means that the pressure is a little bit more on you because you still got to deal with everything that comes with mixed martial arts after Dustin Poirier hits the door.
Well, and not to mention, there's no home field advantage in mixed martial arts. It's a home field disadvantage. And they're putting the spotlight on Dustin and everything's great, but that also means that everybody he's ever met in his entire life that's got his phone number is texting him for tickets and opportunities and wants to see him. And I'm only sharing for you, like, I do like a few things about Max's position, but if I was to take you back to their last fight, if we're to use history as the trajectory to the future, one really interesting thing happened, and you must understand from my perspective, I'm watching this fight with Teddy Atlas, and oftentimes when something will happen, Teddy will come up behind me and he'll just start talking in my ear. He'll say, hey, Chael, make sure you're noticing how he leads with the jab, and then he stecks to the left. He kind of preps me for some of the stuff that we're going to do in the post show. Now, Teddy said to me, he's throwing his rhythm off. And I nodded and I said, yeah, I can see that. Daniel, I didn't really know what it meant. I didn't fully know what rhythm meant. I mean, you got to be a very sophisticated fighter. And not to mention, they had a real Western boxing match. They slipped in a couple of kicks and a couple of clinches, but those two really just stood and traded lefts and right hands. When the fight was over and Dustin was completely dominant, right? Round for Poirier, round for Poirier, round for Poirier, round for Poirier, round for Poirier. When the whole thing was done, Dustin comes up to the set at ESPN and he says, Max is a rhythm fighter. So I knew if I could throw his rhythm off, like I didn't know if it would go out and work, but I had a strategy to try to throw his rhythm off. If he can't get his first step, he can't get his second and third. He has to reset. He has to go back to trying to get the first step, for the second, for the third. And as long as I could throw that rhythm off, I just thought it was a very interesting word. And I think that Dustin Poirier right now in this moment probably regrets having come on ESPN and told the world, but he was high. He just won the belt. He drew into this massive fight with Khabib. He beat him twice, probably never saw number 3. But if we do go back to that word rhythm, if there was something that Dustin could pick up on by watching tapes of Max, that means that there's a correction that Max could make if he watches those same tapes.
Absolutely. So when I think back to the second fight, and it was in Atlanta, I remember Dustin just starting so good. And when you talk about interrupting the rhythm, when Max started to string combinations together, Dustin has this beautiful check right hook that he throws, and bang. And he can really hurt you with it because, as I've said time and time again, his lead hand is his right, but he's a right-handed guy. He just fights southpaw because he wants to hit you with that lead hand, and he's developed great power in his left too. But then as I watched Max Holloway build his way back into this fight, I knew Dustin Poirier was a different fighter because he fought him back when things started to go south. There were times early in his career with the Korean Zombie where it kind of snowballed on Dustin and he was never able to get back to it. Max Holloway needs to fight as he did in rounds 3 and 4 in the round 2 like he did at the beginning of this fight, because that's when he worked his way back into the match, and then Dustin Poirier obviously fought very well down the stretch to win the interim championship. But for Holloway, it's about getting a victory. Not only he's in the top 5 at lightweight already, right? He went up in weight class, hasn't fought back there since he lost to Ilya, and he's already in the top 5. So immediately, he's on a short list of people. Armand, Charles, Justin, Max, and Islam is number 1 for some reason. I don't understand how Islam can vacate the belt and say he's going to welterweight and be the number 1 contender. He should be out of the rankings because it almost seems disrespectful for him to be ranked number 1 when he was the champion. If he doesn't vacate, there is no number 1, no new champ. So I get it. I get that Max needs a victory. But not only is it important for future prospects, because right now this weight is so jumbled with Paddy, Arman, all just kind of hanging around the title, that he will need probably one more victory to truly earn another shot at Ilya Poirier. But he still has his BMF title at stake this weekend, Chael. All of this we're talking about, future prospects, the retirement, getting a victory. What about his belt? The BMF title is on the line, and I think that you and I are two people that really appreciate what this belt means.
That was an incredibly strong analysis by you right there. I really respected that breakdown. Let me ask you one thing. When you're talking about he's got to fight like he did in rounds 2 and 3, how can Max weaponize pace?
Yeah.
Because that is one thing that he's got above everybody, and I would think even Dustin, but he wasn't able to use it. He wasn't able to wear him down and tire him out. Is that a size issue? Does it come back to this word rhythm?
That's what it was.
How does Max weaponize his pace?
But that's what it was in the second fight. Dustin was too big. And Max wasn't like, he even said it. He goes, I have a spare tire. He goes, I'm just gaining weight. This time, if we look at the Max Holloway that showed up at UFC 300, he was not fat. He looked like a legitimate 155-pounder. And Max has pointed to that. Max goes, yo, Max actually said, I've never thought about this, Chael. Max said, he goes, I think Ilia Topuoria's win streak is overrated. We were saying it was the best 3-fight win streak of all time. Max goes, it's overrated because you guys are looking at the names. He goes, but think about this. Volkan just got knocked out by Islam, came back way too fast. He goes, I got knocked out, sure. He goes, but I went up a weight, fought well, came back down a weight. So he was essentially, I think he was saying the weight cut and all the draining himself back down made him more successful to being knocked out. He goes, and what about Charles? Charles had won 1 fight in a row. So Max is doing the right things to kind of pique interest for a fight against Ilia again. I mean, he's saying the right things. But let me ask you, does it make you kind of go, I never thought about that when I was thinking about those 3 wins?
Oh, yeah. It had never crossed my mind. And I did actually see where Max had said that. It never crossed my mind. I was a little bit critical of the Charles win only because Charles wasn't the guy. He wasn't the number 1 guy. Tsarukyan was. Charles wasn't the champ. Islam was. Charles was really good, but he was one of the guys. I was a little critical on that one. But that was just to try to find a critique. This is interesting. This is very interesting on what Max is saying when he works himself in there. I find that his obsession with Ilia is also compelling for this one reason. When Max had come up to 155, even the night at 300 where he captured the BMF title, he never wanted to be a 55-pounder. He never talked about Justin Gaethje one time or Islam or anybody else. All he talked about is I'm going to win that belt and use that as my golden ticket. I'm going to cash it in for my weight class of 145. I do appreciate the fact that he now has accepted this is his new weight class. When you were talking about how his body looked different, how he was more fit, I expect him to exceed anything that you've seen before because he was always flirting with the idea of dropping back down to the one that for whatever personalized reason was more significant to him, but not anymore. He is now knows that I am a 155-pounder. And look, he cashed that BMF title in to get a title shot one time. I think within his mind, he plans to win this fight, use that, and attempt to do it again.
Against the same guy now, though.
Sure.
Isn't that crazy? Poetic justice.
But he's a master of getting rematches. Like, we can't just dismiss whatever Max knows. Like, however he plays this game, he's pretty good at getting rematches.
Max Holloway has somehow managed to work his way into 6 rematches while not winning any of them. Who gets that? That's smart. Max might be the smartest guy in the world. He's literally fought 2 guys 5 times, and he hasn't won a match yet. So, yes, he's very good at finding a way back to the guy. So many people get the BMF title is special for a number of reasons. One is every time they win, somebody else straps the belt on them. It's not Dana. The BMF title is something different, right? Masvidal, The Rock. Who would you like to see strap the belt on the winner this weekend? I got one if it's Dustin Poirier. And if it's Max Holloway, I also have one. It's 2 different people.
I think I would love to hear yours. What an interesting. Will you go first? Give me a minute to process. Yes. Who would you like to see if it's Dustin?
So Mark Coleman strapped it on the persons at UFC 300 also. Hey, if it's Dustin, Lil Wayne. If Lil Wayne is walking him out, Lil Wayne should walk out there and put the belt on Dustin Poirier. I think Lil Wayne should do it.
Okay, I didn't know he was buddies with Lil Wayne, by the way. Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing. Is Lil Wayne the one that says, yeah?
No, that's Lil Jon, man.
Do they look similar?
They do. They got long dreads and everything.
I think I've seen Lil Wayne at
Lil Wayne is very popular, man. He was
don't distract me. Okay, and who would you do it? Who would you do it if it was Blessed?
Okay, so this is a little for me. It's kind of like personal, right? Like because I watched the disappointment of the last fight. Hey, bro, I'd let his wife do it because they're so close and she means so much. I would let Max's wife do it because I saw how sad they were after the last fight. Chael, it's not just Max fighting. It's his entire team, his entire family. Like I would let his wife do it. Because of how how much it means to the family, or I'd let his son do it. I'd let his wife or his son do it. Like, it's got to be one of those two to strap the belt on that man, because I know what it meant when I walked into that locker room after that Ilya loss. I know what it would mean to one of them to do it.
But that's very interesting because now you've created my mind where I'm putting myself in his shoes. That would be very special if your wife or your son or your daughter was able to put the belt. Like, those are really good ideas. I got to tell you one that maybe is a little bit more dull, but when I do think of BMF, I do think of George Masvidal. Yeah. I like the fact that George put it on Gaethje. I like the fact that George and Gaethje had heat, and George still had to put it on Gaethje while he stood there and took it because that's the procedure. I wouldn't hate that idea. I like the Mark Coleman. I see where your head's at. I feel like I bombed and ruined this entire segment. Okay, I must say, I feel like I have a better version of myself that I didn't bring you, but I don't hate the idea of Masvidal.
That's good though, George. But that's what George is, right? He's the guy that essentially created the BMF title.
Do you know Lil Wayne? Are you one of these put me on Instagram, you and me? Woo!
I do. I actually know him.
And you're sure that he never says, yeah?
No, he does not say yeah. No,
have you ever asked him a question?
Not if he says yeah.
Take a shortcut to yes. He said,
if you ask the question, it's like, what's up? That cool black guys don't say like yeah. They say like, what's up? Sup. Like S-U-P. S-U-P is what I get from cool black dudes.
Are you implying Little John is not a cool black guy?
But yeah, he screams yeah.
What? Oh, yeah. That's the Chappelle. By the way, you know what I'm doing. I'm doing Chappelle's Yeah, it's great. You know, I don't think you know Lil Wayne as much as you call Lil Wayne.
I don't know him great. I'm not sitting here pretending to be a great friend.
Call him right now.
No, I'm not doing that. Are you crazy?
All right, just tell me his number. I'll call him.
Hey, only you do that. Only you give away numbers, because you've given my number away a couple times. I'm like, chill, why?
That's rude. Yeah, you can't do that, man. I did that to Chad Mendez one night. I put it on Twitter.
Oh, man.
I had something the kids call an Ambien, which is like it's a prescription. It's to help you sleep. And then I thought it was a good idea to put Chad Mendez. And by the way, he was getting ready to fight Connor. Like, his life could not have been more busy. He had to take away from fight week to go get a phone. I have overcorrected. I have kissed Chad's ass every day since then because I feel so bad about it. I will continue. Like, Chad owns a little part of me.
Well, Chad, when you do that.
I got to square up with him. Yeah. What?
So Lil Jon's like, Lil Jon's a cool black guy. I know a few, though. And I was with one the other day in Nashville. The Black Beast is a cool black guy, man. He is. Just be honest, Jill. He is.
He cool, is. Man.
It doesn't matter if he wins. Man. It doesn't matter if he loses. But if he wins, oh my God, the moments, bro.
He fought you over a comment you made about Popeye's chicken. Like, that's funny, man. He's
Derrick
cool.
Lewis earned a title fight by knocking out Volkov, sure. But he said, my balls is hot. Remember when he took his pants off and said that? And it's become a thing. Dude found himself fighting for the world title. It's crazy. So let me ask you a question. Is this man the most exciting person with a microphone in front of his mouth? Because I don't be knowing what he's going to say. When I'm standing next to him, I'm so concerned as to what he's going to say. But the moment he starts talking, it's real good.
You got Money Moicano. You got Patty the Batty. And you've got the Beast. And they're all for very different reasons. But I must tell you, the first time I ever watched a fight, and I was in a living room where we're all telling, quiet, to hear a post-fight interview, no one ever cared about those. The first time ever where people went, shh, was for Rampage. I kind of felt like Rampage was one of the originals that doesn't get credit for it. But yes, Derrick Lewis is very much in line with that. Listen, DC, I got a little bit of a hot take for you.
Okay.
Now, you got to watch the ending of that fight fairly closely to see this. But there is a clear rule infraction, not once but twice, with the grabbing of the fence.
Yes.
Now, it changed the position, though. It got him back up to his feet. So, and I need you to understand that, because a lot of times the referee will let an exchange finish and then make a ruling. Not in a case like that where you lose position. The ref must step in right then. He will put Texera down. He'll put the Black Beast on top of him, and they'll continue from there. The referee takes a backhand, and he gets like pie-faced. It was all on accident, but he stepped into the mix. I don't think he intended to call that a TKO. I don't think he intended to stop that fight. My own conspiracy, but I believe he was stopping the action to offer a disciplinary 1 point for the fence grab. Derrick starts celebrating, crowd starts reacting, referee gets bonked, and that corner's arguing. It had all the makings of a TKO, and my own belief is they just went with it. How's that? That's a hot one, Daniel, but I believe that's what I saw. Ridiculous? Is it ridiculous by me? I mean, they called it an early stoppage, and in my opinion, it's like, well, yeah, because it wasn't supposed to be a stoppage. It was a break in the action to put it down. You're laughing, though. Am I way off? I don't mind being way off, but am I way off on this?
No, the reason it's so funny is because so many times in my life, I'm like, yo, I'm not supposed to be here, but it seems like we're here, so I might as well just play along, right? Like, you know that's the way it is. But I don't know that was the case Saturday, because Jason Herzog came to me afterwards and he was like, early? I said, no. I said, listen, he thought it was an early stoppage, maybe. I said, no. Well, he thought it was early because the guy assaulted him, like grabbed him by the face and, hey, get out of here. Nothing scarier for an official, especially one that's not that big, to have a 6'7" Brazilian heavyweight grabbing you by the chin, like pissed off because you stopped the fight. I didn't think it was all the reasons you said is why I didn't think it was early. Because Jason Herzog, again, everything you said, stop the action, redo the position. You can't do that in a finishing sequence. You can't do that because even if he takes Derrick off, resets him on the ground, and lets him start again, now the guy's a bit off the hook from being finished. So you can't do it in a finishing sequence. I think the only action was to stop the fight because Teixeira's not getting up if he does not stick his fingers into the fence, grab it to pull himself up. So he couldn't have done anything more than stop the fight. So because of that, I agreed with the stoppage. Now, had he gotten up on his own and he did that, that might have been a little bit early because the guy was fighting back to his feet. But if you use the fence to get up, Chael, there is no argument to be made, especially as bad as that one. He reached up, grabbed the fence, and pulled himself back to his feet. So no.
Yeah, but in theory, he was in a worse position, and he got to a prone position, which in theory is a better position. Typically, you don't stop the fight when somebody's improving their position. I'm only sharing for you, and we'll never know. And Herzog is awesome and a friend. I'm just suggesting that's what I thought I saw, Daniel. Yeah. There used to be touch falls were more common, and this was a signal where the referee would hold his hand up. A 5-point throw, the referee kind of waved his arm, but he ended in the same position. I threw a guy for 5 one time. The referee called it 5. I nonchalantly stood up, walked to the line, and put my hand out as though he had called a touch fall. The opponent got up, came around, shook my hand, and the referee ended the match and called it a touch fall. So I'm only sharing with you, like, these things do happen, and when you get backhanded and you get pie-faced, I think he stepped in to break the action for the infraction of a fence grab. I don't think he meant to call it.
Yeah, okay. We can agree to disagree. Well, Derrick Lewis.
Well, I'm not bullish on it. I mean, it's more of just like kind of a guess, like I'm just kind of suggesting.
I like yours a lot better than mine. I'm like acting like this guy like that. No, you can't stop the action. Oh, shut up, Daniel. I mean, we're not over here. What are you? Freaking rules the guy now? Shut up, Daniel. Anyhow, Derrick said, hey, I think I match up better with Tom Aspinall than I did in my first 2 title fights. So should the UFC just pull the trigger, give him a title fight? I mean, Tom does need challengers. There isn't many that are going to draw as many eyes as Derrick Lewis. Should he just... Curtis Blades got a title fight, and Derrick Lewis knocked out Curtis Blades. Should we just pull the trigger and do Derrick Lewis versus Tom Aspinall right now?
If we can find a way. If given an opportunity. Look, are they going to go into the war room and they're going to come out with that decision and try to sell it on the audience? No. If Surreal was to get so much as a cough, if he's to bump a finger, I mean, if anything happens where an opportunity presents itself where you can openly admit, not our first choice, but it's the one we're going with, yes, Derrick Lewis returning to Madison Square Garden, a venue that he's already proven he can draw at. Tom, who's already proven he can draw within that market. Yes, and not to mention, the matchup really is interesting. Somebody posted all of Tom's wins and then all of Derrick's wins. They were really close. It's just Derrick had so many other fights that, he
Yeah.
stubbed his toe a couple of times, but it was very close, and I hadn't really realized how close it was. Plus, in Derrick's category, you've got Francis Ngannou. Against Derrick, you've got Cyril. I mean, I'm just sharing. If you really wanted to go by the book, you'd have a hard time getting there. If you want to give the fans what they want, which a lot of times in this business we're given that opportunity, it's generally as a secondary move. But if there's any room,
Yes.
if there's any opportunity to slide him in there, I'm not completely against the idea, that's for sure. I'm a supporter. And the matchup really is interesting. Hey, you remember the late, great Robert Follis?
I do.
All right, so Robert starts working with Derrick Lewis. And I don't know at what point in his career it is, but they've been training together and they're meshing well. That's a word that Robert used to use. And everything's going great. Now they're in the locker room. But it's their first time in the locker room together. So if an unexpected happens or a guy has a superstition or something he does, you would have no way to know because you haven't been there before. And Derrick Lewis brought in a rack of ribs.
Oh my God.
And the white styrofoam can contain the whole bit. And he's looking at him the whole time, and Robert's telling him, hey, don't do this, don't do it. And it's late. Derrick's already got his hands wrapped. The commissioner's already wrapped his hands. He couldn't wait anymore. So he went over and he ate half a rack of the full rack, went out, won the contest, but had to get to the back quickly. He had to get to the back quickly.
Derrick Lewis he is such a character.
He's a legend. Those stories are what make for legends. That's a great story.
That's a great story. He sat there next to me and said that about his wife. He goes, I want my wife next. And she's just sitting there trying to keep it together oh my God, this dude, why'd I come into this octagon? Chill. Before we go, the ESPY this year, Male Fighter of the Year, goes to Merab Dvalishvili. Guys, this award is June to June, right? Last June to this June. It was during that time that Merab beat O'Malley, he beat Umar, and he beat O'Malley, right? So Merab won the Fighter of the Year overall, not male, because Kayla Harrison was in the category this year. So congrats to Merab. I believe that he deserved it, not only because he became champ, defended the belt 2 times in a calendar year, but because of the way that he did, right? He won that belt against O'Malley in a fight that he dominated but got hurt late. Went into a fight against Umar Nurmagomedov where people thought he was going to get beat. So many had Umar set to throw Merab right away. He got the job done in a very close competitive fight. Then he comes back and he beats O'Malley even worse and submits him. Merab deserved this award, Chael, and good on him for getting an ESPY.
Yeah, well, and credit where credit's due. This goes to Merab Dvalishvili. And I got to tell you, because my phone's been lighting up in my social media with congrats. Chael Sonnen sounds a lot like Merab Dvalishvili, but it's not me. It's the other one this time. And I support it, by the way. And I support it because of the growth. The 2 O'Malley fights was very powerful for me because that's how you see if a guy got better, right? That's how you can see. You got to have that same common opponent. To see that he grew at a time when his fame is going up and all these leeches are trying to get a hold of him, to see that he was focused and kept his eye on it, man, for me, it was meaningful.
Yeah, he's the man, bro. This guy is so good, and the fans are starting to draw to him. He's an interesting character. For years we saw Merab doing some crazy stuff, jumping off cliffs, riding horses, cardio for days. Merab deserved that award, and hats on him, John Wood, the entire syndicate team, Ray Longo, all the people that have invested in him over the course of his career to get him to this point. Winning an ESPY is a big deal, so congratulations to Merab and his entire team. Chael, we're going to New Orleans this week, my guy. I cannot wait to get you down in Louisiana. Have you been? Have you been to Louisiana before?
No, I've never been. There was a World Team Trials there one time, but I stayed out of town. I was with my mother, so it wasn't like the New Orleans experience. So I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, it's awesome. We are going to have a fantastic time. I can't wait. See you guys on Thursday for a new episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. For the bad guy, Chael Sonnen, I'm Daniel Cormier. Until next time, peace, guys.